everyone, today I wanted to show you the foundation routine that I have been using every day and in all of the tutorials that I have done so far. So you are getting nice and up close and personal with my completely naked face. The first step that I am going to use is to apply a little bit of lip balm. This is EOS lip balm in watermelon. I'm going to prime my face, and I've been using this Too Faced Prime and Poreless primer for a couple of months now. And it is getting really low. I'm squeezing the last little bit out. And I take this on my fingers and I sort of press it into my entire face. And I like to start in the areas that have the largest pores, to begin with. So kind of right around my nose, my forehead, my chin, and then I work it out. I like to press so that it works the product into my pores. This primer feels really silky and emollient on the skin, so sometimes it needs a minute to set before you're ready to go in with your foundation. So once mine feels nice and dry to the touch, I take my foundation, and I'm still using my Urban Decay Naked Skin Foundation, and mine is in the shade 3.0. And I give this a good shake, and I do about a full pump on my hand. I actually like to use my fingers to apply this, so I just take it on a finger and kind of dot it around my face. And then just sort of start to move it around. I think you get the best coverage with this foundation when you apply it with your fingers. Really put foundation on my eyelids. I don't know why, I just kind of don't. I like to use a MAC Paint Pot as my primer, and that is really full coverage and it takes care of any veins on my eyelids, so I just don't really feel the need to put foundation on it. Once I have worked the product basically all around my face, I like to take a Sigma Sigmax foundation brush and just sort of make sure it's nice and blended. There are no streaks or finger marks or lines. Especially around my mouth, because this foundation is a little bit darker than my skin tone on my face. I fake tan my body, so it matches pretty well, but I don't fake tan my face, so my face is really, really pale. And this foundation sets really quickly, so it's just about dry now. So this is kind of when I go in and look, do I need another coat anywhere else? And it actually looks okay all over my face. It looks like I got a pretty good even layer, but just for the sake of the video, I am going to go in with a little bit more. So just about half a squirt. And with the second layer, I really like to focus on my neck just to make sure that the color on my face matches my neck. And then sometimes I'll just take a little bit more kind of down the middle of my face, or any places that tend to get more oily or more discolored, like around my nose and my mouth. One of my favorite things about this foundation is that you can layer it without it feeling cakey. It still really doesn't feel like I have anything on my face. I'm ready to start concealing, so I have pretty dark under eye circles. I like to start off by using this Garnier Skin Renew Roller Ball under my eyes, almost like a primer for my concealer that I'm going to use down there. So what I do is I roll it right under there, and then I let it sit for about 30 seconds while I work on concealing any blemishes on my face or anything like that. This product is really sheer, and so letting it sit kind of makes the coverage a little bit better, and I don't really know why, but it almost thickens up, so when I go to blend it, it just covers more. So while I'm letting that sit, I normally go in and start covering any blemishes on my face. And to do that right now, I'm using my MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, and once again, I just take a little bit of this on the back of my hand, and a little bit of this goes a long, long way. So, oh, I just squeezed way too much out. That's way too much because this stuff is pretty powerful. And I have like a little blemish right here, so I'm just going to put a dot of that on with I like to put my index finger to dot it on, and then I kind of go in with my middle finger just to tap it in really gently and tap around. I have another pimple, a good, nice big one that's kind of working its way out on my chin here. So same thing, tap with my index finger, then go in with my middle or ring finger to blend the color. And then a little bit around my nose, because we all know we get nice and red around our nose. I think that my under eye primer sort of is ready, so I'm going to start blending it out. And so now that that product is blended out, I'm going to go in with a little bit more of this concealer I have on my hands and tap that in under my eyes. This Pro Longwear concealer can get really cakey really quickly, so I like to just add a little bit at a time in really thin layers, because that way I just have more control and it's less likely that I'm going to end up with really cakey, powdery, nasty looking under eyes. And that way, if I do one layer and I feel like I need a little bit more, I can always go back in, but it's a lot easier to go back in with more product than it is to try and remove any product, especially because this concealer actually does stay really, really well. I think when you tap, you get a lot better coverage instead of removing the concealer with your finger as you swipe it over. So actually when I'm doing my own makeup, this is when I start working on my eyeshadows. I kind of like to let my face products set and sink into my skin before I start powdering over, because I think that that way I won't over powder thinking that, oh, it's, you know, it's still shiny and I need to powder over it, when really the product just hasn't completely sunk into my skin yet and is still sort of sitting on top. I'm actually just going to prime my eyes and then move on to the rest of my foundation. So I'm using my MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot and a finger. And I work this under my eye and into my inner corner normally. And all over my brow bone. And now I'm going to use a little bit of powder to set. For quite a while I've been using this MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural in the color Medium Plus to set my foundation, and this actually has pretty good coverage. It's more of a powder foundation than just a setting powder, so I try just to get a little bit on my brush. Right now I'm using this natural domed powder from Sephora, powder brush from Sephora, and I'm just getting a little bit of product on the tip of my brush and sort of stamping and sweeping that in. I don't want it to move my foundation around too much by like really moving it over the foundation. Focus this in the middle of my face, especially right here between my eyebrows. That seems to get the shiniest or reflect the most light. My chin and under my eyes. And then of course, I always take whatever I put on my face down my neck because I want them to be the same color. For bronzing and contouring, I've been using this Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer. I'm taking this little brush from BH Cosmetics, a little bit on this brush, and tapping it off because you don't want too much color on your brush when you're going into contour. And I kind of find my cheekbone, I don't have really well-defined cheekbones at all. I have kind of a baby face. So I'm trying to create those with just a little bit of a shadow. Then sometimes I'll go in just a little bit under my jawbone. I'm not really sure why. I don't know that that actually does anything. I think it's just more of a habit than anything else. And a really little bit around my nose. But keep in mind when you're applying bronzer around your nose like this to contour that it can look really, really obvious if you use a lot of product. So just use a tiny little bit on your brush. And sometimes I'll do my hairline. Especially now that my body is so much tanner than my face, I like to just kind of do an all-over bronzer, especially on my neck. So I take a larger powder brush, and this is a blush brush from the Real Techniques. This is a blush brush from the Real Techniques collection. Sort of blend the color all over my face. And the last step is, of course, to take my favorite product, my Urban Decay Do Me Setting Spray, shake it up, and just do a couple of sprays right on my face to set everything,